Phillies news and notes, Todd Zolecki, MLB.com, with us now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline as the Phillies probably one of the more anticipated series in, 4 or 5 years up there, Todd?
Yeah, it feels like it. Certainly. I feel like there's been a lot of those series so far this season. You know, even last weekend or this past weekend series against the Nationals has been big just because, you know, Phillies are finally playing games that might mean something later in the season.
They got, some interesting decisions coming up. I'm interested to get your take on, number one, where Neshek is and your view of getting him back and what that might do to the way that Gabe Kapler handles that bullpen. Do you think it changes anything at all?
Possibly. You know, he's making a rehab appearance tomorrow night for Reading, so he's getting close. Like, he could be back within the week, which would be huge. I mean, especially if he pitches like he pitched last season. But yeah, you know, I think it could change some things in that the more depth you have, the better pitches you have. You know, it just makes everything better, and it might even push the Phillies towards, you know, settling on somebody to pitch the ninth inning. You know, in theory, I actually don't have a problem with Sir Anthony Dominguez being shuffled around because he's their best pitcher, and too many of those other guys have been inconsistent. So, you know, you want to have a good guy pitching in, you know, if it's the seventh inning and you're facing the heart of the order, why do you want to pitch somebody that might not be that good when you have Dominguez there, you know, and then you don't, if the other guy pitches in the seventh inning, gets rocked, now that ninth inning is meaningless. So in theory, I get that, but I also believe in the value of having a ninth inning guy. And so if Neshek can come back and pitch well, you know, if some of these other guys can kind of right the ship, I like the idea of them at some point settling on somebody in the ninth inning, whether it be Sir Anthony Dominguez or if they want to go out and make a trade next month and find a closer. You know, Brad Hand from San Diego could be available. You know, Zach Britton from Baltimore could be available. You know, those are guys that could step into that ninth inning role. And now you have, once again, you have a great weapon in Dominguez and Neshek and some of these other guys that can pitch those 6th, 7th, 8th innings.
Yeah, Todd, it almost seems like he likes Dominguez in some role, but he doesn't have a guy he likes enough in the 8th inning role to settle in on just making him the 9th inning guy, because when things come up in the 7th or 8th, he feels like he needs to go there. And you wonder if Neshek would make him feel comfortable enough to not have to do that, and coupled with what will happen when Eichhoff comes back. Do they bounce one of these starters to the bullpen? Is there somebody that could be a candidate for that to add more depth to the bullpen?
Possibly. You know, yeah, I think if Neshek comes back and you know, if he pitches like he pitched last season, yeah, possibly. You know, if Neshek's not the 8th inning guy, say he's the 7th inning guy, and now you can really like super mix and match in the 8th inning. So that's an option. You know, if Eichhoff comes back, you know, there have been several points this season where the Phillies said, hey, when Eichhoff is healthy, he is going to rejoin the rotation. But, you know, I'm personally am a believer that Nick Pivetta is more good than bad. And, you know, while he's going to have his bad start here or there, you know, I don't see him coming out of the rotation. I don't see any reason for it. You know, Velasquez is pitching tonight. He's definitely more up and down. And Eflin is very up and down. But say both of those guys start clicking a little bit, you know, is it definitely a situation where you know, Eichhoff's going to rejoin the rotation? You know, I guess it's possible, but it depends on how those guys are pitching. But if Eichhoff does rejoin the rotation, Vince Velasquez is struggling or something like that, I guess it's possible they put him in the bullpen. But I just don't get any inclination right now that, you know, a bad few starts or whatever is going to knock him out of that rotation. The Phillies really do believe that his talent is so great that they want to continue to give him the opportunities to develop.
Todd Zolecki, MLB.com. How far off is Eichhoff?
Well, he still hasn't even thrown a bullpen a rehab start. Once he starts getting those rehab starts, that's when you know he's close. You know, he's kind of had some stops and starts here and there. He's throwing live BPs. He's throwing off the mound. He's playing catch, all those things. But you know, until until the guy actually makes a rehab start, he's weeks away. You know, so right. It's not like, you know, in other words, he's not going to be back in the next 2 weeks. He's probably not going to be back in the next month. Now you're getting into late July, and But yeah, I mean, I guess it's possible he could make only 2 or 3 rehab starts and he's back before that or something. But, if he's not back until late July, now you're getting a situation going, would we be better served, being the Phillies, would the Phillies be better served trading for somebody like Jay Happ or Cole Hamels, or would they be better served going with Jared Eichhoff, who hasn't pitched in over a year almost?
Speaking of trading, I guess this is the time of the year where you start to hear things. Maikel Franco's name has come up, and, he looked like a guy who was on the outs, and then J.P. Crawford got hurt. So is he a guy the Phillies would be willing to move, or now do they have to kind of backtrack off of that?
I think they'd definitely be willing to move, especially if they felt confident in their ability to find another third baseman. J.P. Crawford could be back, and I guess he's been out for about a week, so I guess it'd be 3 to 5 weeks he could potentially be back. There's no question that the Phillies, up until J.P. Crawford broke his hand last week, were moving on to Maikel Franco. So, yeah, absolutely. I think they could move on from him. And again, especially if they feel pretty confident that they can put together a package for Mike Moustakas or Adrian Beltre or Josh Donaldson or one of these many third basemen / shortstops that could be available at the trade deadline. But, yeah, I don't think the Phillies would hesitate at all if it helped them get better.
Yeah, Todd, I know everybody seems to think that the smart bet is that Manny Machado will be a Philly either this year or next year. But are the Phillies thinking about rentals this year? Do you think they would be involved in those type of deals, or is Machado still on the radar for this year?
I think they're definitely. I think rentals are definitely on the radar. In fact, Matt Klentak said that last week talking to us. He says we are open to acquiring rental players, but I think there's a caveat there. I don't think the Phillies are going to totally empty the farm, and that means like trading Sixto Sanchez, who's one of the top pitching prospects in all of Major League Baseball, Adam Hazley, who's one of the top outfield prospects in baseball. He was the #1 draft pick last year. He's been playing really well lately. And maybe 2 or 3 other players, maybe a Scott Kingery, maybe a J.P. Crawford for 2 months of Manny Machado, whereas I think they would be open to trading a lesser package for a Mike Moustakas, for a Jay Happ, for a Cole Hamels, etc. And all those guys are considered rental players as well. And I know a lot of people are going to be upset if that's the Phillies are thinking, right? Like, well, I don't understand why they don't get after Manny Machado. He could help them get to the playoffs. But the Phillies, in my mind, they're not I think you empty the farm when you think you are 1 player away from winning the World Series. And I personally do not look at the Phillies as being 1 player away from winning the World Series. And because of that, if I personally were Phillies general manager, I do not empty out my farm system for 2 months of Manny Machado. Now, I've had a lot of fans say to me, yeah, but, if Manny Machado comes here and the Phillies make the playoffs and he really loves it here, he could be kind of swayed and maybe signing a contract extension. And I would be absolutely stunned if Manny Machado did not enter the free agent market, and I would be absolutely stunned if he did not end up signing for the most money that a team offers him in the offseason. In other words, I don't see a scenario where the Phillies acquire him in July and he automatically resigns, in the offseason. So for that reason, it's the fact that I don't think the Phillies are 1 player away like they were in 09, 10, and 11. I don't give up the farm for him. I go after somebody like Mike Moustakas.
Yeah.
I go after somebody like Jay Happ. I go after somebody like Cole Hamels or a bullpen piece like Brad Hand in San Diego. I go on that route, save my best prospects, and then they go after Manny Machado in the offseason. The Phillies are going to have tons of money to spend. Go after him in the offseason. You don't have to lose any prospects.
Todd Zolecki, MLB.com. If you were to sit down with Matt Klentak right now and ask him if he learned anything from this series with the Nationals, what do you think he'd tell you?
I think what he would tell you is that he believed that this team can compete. I think this. In fact, I think these last 2 weeks have proven to the front office that this team can compete. Coming into the month, they were playing really well. And you remember what they got swept in San Francisco. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Brewers. I think they opened the month like 1-7. Well, they've won 9 out of the last 13 games. This June schedule, even entering the season, everybody looked at it as like this could be the killer part of their schedule. If they fold here, that could change their entire thinking. But now that they seem to be coming out of it fairly well, and even say these next 7 games at home against the Yankees and Nationals, say they even go 3-4. they're still going to be in really good position going into July. And if you look at the July schedule, I think they have, like, after the Nationals leave town on Sunday, 20 of their next 23 games in July are against teams with losing records. So, again, even if they have a bad week this week, they have the opportunity to really make a good run in July. And then I think that really puts them in the position where they're going to be comfortable maybe acquiring a rental piece or two or more to help them make the playoffs.
Todd, earlier this year, it seemed that not only were fans skeptical and wanted to run off the bridges about Gabe Kapler, but there was anonymous quotes and all sorts of crazy stuff about Kapler. Has that settled down? Do the players, do they like the manager? Is this a guy they like playing for?
I think so. Gabe is different. Everybody knows this. You listen to him talk, instead of saying, boy, Andrew Knapp, what a great teammate he is. He says Andrew Knapp exhibits excellent teammate behavior. He has this different, almost CEO, corporate, Tony Robbins way of speaking in a lot of ways. And, it definitely kind of, when you hear it, it's different. There's no question about it. I think the players look at it the same way that you look at it, and the same way that I look. Like, boy, this is kind of a weird way to put this, or a strange way to put this. But I do think they like the fact that he communicates with them. I do think that they generally do like playing for him. They think he's a good guy. I don't think there's this huge disconnect right now. And you have to give Gabe some credit. While I know people don't really necessarily like the way he runs the bullpen, this is a guy. The first 3 games of the season, pulled Aaron Nola after 5 innings. He had made like 21 pitching changes in that 3-game series against Atlanta. And he has adjusted. You've seen him go out to the mound, whether it be Vince Velasquez or Jake Arrieta or Nick Pivetta or whomever, and say, hey, do you have another batter in you? Do you have another inning in you? And he will go with his gut, not analytics, and leave that pitcher in the game. And sometimes it's worked, sometimes it hasn't worked. But he has made that adjustment, and I think he understood that if he kept going the way he was, he could have lost the clubhouse. I don't think he would admit that publicly, but I think he was aware that, I need to adjust. So I do think the players like working for him. I don't think there's any real serious tension in there or anything like that. And I think that's a good thing. Now, hey, all of a sudden it gets down to September and a bunch of crazy pitching changes late in the season cost them a spot in the postseason. Now we might have to revisit that issue, but I think right now everything's okay.
Hey, Todd Zolecki's at Todd Zolecki on Twitter. He covers the Phillies for MLB.com. It's the Phillies and the Yankees tonight at Citizens Bank Park. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.